the writing of the new ordinance. I understand the ordinance is almost finished, and alas, we've had no input, no contribution from Carmel's residents and Carmel's taxpayers was allowed. How come? Why are we paying May and Karish, two SoCal telecom lawyers who, in my opinion, favor cell towers in residential neighborhoods, to write our new wireless ordinance without our supervision? It doesn't make any sense. Or are we supposed to wait and be confident that our planning commission will have our back? Is the planning commission our ace in the hole? Mr. Mayor, now would be a good time for a wink or a nod. Yes, we can rely on the planning commission to save the day. You might be right. I hope so. I read a Chairman Michael LePage quote in the Pinecone regarding the Pitt's most recent design, quote, "Our village is not a Southern California beach town. Yay! So we can rely on the Planning Commission. Oh, good. But just in case, our Golden Rectangle Citizens Committee is going to help the Planning Commission. We are putting the finishing touches on our very own wireless telecom ordinance proposal. Special thanks to Councilmember Ferlito for her recommendation to pull from other towns' telecom ordinances to make ours, and to make it as restrictive as we can, and that's what we did. We pulled from the wireless telecom ordinances of Petaluma, Calabasas, Mill Valley, Encinitas, and Costa Mesa. In closing, I saw in last week's Pinecone on the front page an article by Mary Schley. I love Mary's work, by the way. The article was titled, "City, How Often Do You Feel the Need to Sit Down?" about the Beach and Forest Commission not being consulted about the 16 new benches on Scenic. That sounds like our situation right here. We were not consulted either. Beach and Forest got a do-over. We would also like a do-over. But can we start over so we can be involved in helping write the new telecom ordinance, please? Thank you.
Michael, thank you for your testimony. For those that are also intending to speak tonight, that is an item that's on closed session. I'd be asking for comments on closed session items when we go to closed session, once council reads us into closed session. So you might want to keep your powder dry on that. But Michael, your point was made and I appreciate that. Anybody else wishing to speak tonight? Last call. Anybody else?
Yes. Can I speak on item 12 or do I need to wait on that?
12 is the first read. You can wait for that item too. That's an actual item of business. We'll actually be dealing with that. So you'd have to wait on that.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Anybody else? All right, I'll close the public comment period. Move on then to the consent calendar. There's 11 items on consent. Is there anybody in the public wishing to speak to an item that's on the consent calendar? All right, is there anybody close the public comment period on the consent calendar? Council members, are there any concerns with the consent calendar as it's crafted? I don't see any. Possible motion to approve?
I'll make the motion to approve the consent calendar.
I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? Ashley, could we have a roll call on, please?
Yes, Mayor. Councilmember Barron.
Yes.
Councilmember Ferlito.
Yes.
Councilmember Tice.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Richards.
Yes.
And Mayor Potter.
Aye.
Vote is unanimous.
Thank you very much. That brings us on then to order of the business. This is there's one item under item number 12, which is First Amendment to Urgency Ordinance adopting rules for conduct for attending meetings of legislative bodies at the city facility. Brian, did you want to speak to this?
Yes, just briefly. The council considered this urgency ordinance at your last meeting. And at that time, Chip Rurig indicated that the ordinance was going to be limited to meetings of the legislative bodies, so that that would be the scope of the urgency ordinance. So based upon that direction that I received at your last council meeting, I prepared this First Amendment to the urgency ordinance. The pertinent provisions appear at page at page 4, section 7. Those are the rules of conduct for attending meetings of legislative bodies. So that would be the Planning Commission and all of the other boards and commissions. And we define city facilities as those that are owned by the city. Legislative bodies are the Council, Planning Commission, Forest and Beach, Historic Resources, the Harrison Memorial Library Board of Trustees, the Community Activities Commission, and the Building Code Board of Appeals. And so the rules of conduct do require that persons that are attending in person be vaccinated, and by fully vaccinated, that would include a booster if they've qualified. Wearing a face covering at in-person meetings. The city will provide face coverings if persons don't have one with them. If there's anyone that's unable or unwilling to meet those requirements, they're welcome to attend the meeting remotely. And then finally, due to the size of the council chambers, the council gave direction at your last meeting that up to 27 members of the public would be allowed to attend in person on a first come, first served basis. So the recommended action this evening would be for a request for a reading of the title, and then as it's indicated in the agenda, and then the second step would be a motion to waive further reading and adopt the First Amendment to the urgency ordinance. And I'm available to answer questions, and I do understand there's a member of the public who wants to speak on this.
Thank you, Brian. I appreciate that. Before I go to the public, is there any member of council with questions or concerns for Brian? I don't see anybody. All righty, I'll open up the public comment period. It's just an opportunity for any member of the public to comment on this item. 3-minute limitation on testimony. If you could state your name for the record, I'd appreciate it.
Yes, hello. My name is Alan, and I'm speaking against item 12. Do I have the floor?
Yes, you do.
Yeah, so City Council meetings, Planning Commission, Forest and Beach Commission, Historic Resources Board, Library Board, and Building Code Appeal meetings. All of those meetings are off limits to those of us who refuse to show our papers, please. Our First Amendment right to free speech and the ability to petition our government for the redress of grievances are being infringed by this ordinance. So only those that have the godforsaken fourth booster have that privilege. What kind of community are we building here? What about those that don't have access to a smartphone or a place to call home? I just got a Zoom reboot. I can't even see anybody in the chambers there. Where is the equity? This ordinance, if passed, is coercion at a minimum and outright discrimination at the worst. This is bully tactics aimed at the 20% of the population in this county that have chosen not to get jabbed by a drug that has dubious effectiveness. No mention of natural immunity or pre-therapies. No mention of Omicron and the declining COVID case rates for all age groups in Monterey County the last 2 months. No mention of any criteria whatsoever for ending this local state of emergency. 2 years now, by the way. Criteria such as hospital bed availability, 7-day average case rate, positivity rate, or how about COVID death rate? Why does this emergency game continue? Because there are no defined end zones and the goalposts keep moving. No acknowledgement that the CDPH guidelines on mega events don't even recommend vaccine verification for events less than 1,000 persons. Nothing. Only the incessant noise of silencing, deplatforming, doxing, or humiliation for those who have a different point of view. I'll end with this. California State Bill 1390, it's a bill being proposed right now, furthers this Orwellian nightmare. This bill prohibits any statements the government deems untrue or misleading made by anyone regarding vaccines or medicines. Aldous Huxley's Brave New World is the highway down which we head. We have moved past the greater good marker and now are in the territory where fear tramples freedom. Please reconsider this urgency ordinance. Thank you very much.
Ellen, thank you for your testimony. Is there anybody else wishing to speak tonight?
Mayor, did you want me to respond at all to the comments?
Let's wait until I close the public comment period, Brian. Is there anybody else wishing to comment? I don't see anybody. I'll close the public comment period, bring it back to staff. Brian, did you want to rebut briefly?
Yeah, just mention a couple of things. First of all, we are in a state of emergency still, and that's been confirmed at the state level, and that has not changed. The city's declaration of emergency remains in effect, and the government code that's set forth in the staff report expressly authorizes the city to impose the types of restrictions that are set forth in this ordinance. And that's all that's all I have to say on that point.
Thank you, Brian. All right, is there any questions or comments by council members? I don't see any. Possible motion? Jeff?
Yes, I would be happy to make a motion. First, I would like to request a reading of the title of the ordinance.
Yes, this is the First Amendment to the urgency ordinance number 2022-001 of the City Council of the City of Carmel-by-the-Sea, adopting rules of conduct for attending meetings of legislative bodies at city facilities.
Thank you. And I would make a motion to waive further reading and adopt the First Amendment to the urgency ordinance of the City Council of the City of Carmel-by-the-Sea, adopting rules of conduct for attending meetings of legislative bodies at city facilities.
Thank you, Jeff. Do we have a second? I'll second it. Is there any other discussion? I don't see any. Ashton, could we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Barron,
Yes.
Councilmember Ferlito,
Yes.
Councilmember Tice,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Richards,
Yes.
and Mayor Potter.
Aye.
The vote is unanimous.
All right, that takes care of our public business. We're going to go to closed session. Before we do, Brian, would you read us into closed session? And I'll ask if there's anybody in the public wishing to speak to those items.
Yes, we have 4 closed sessions, and they're listed by letter. So closed session A is a conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation. That's initiation of litigation pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9 D4, and that's one potential case. Our second item is a conference with, item B, conference with labor negotiators. That's authorized by Government Code Section 54957.6. The agency designated representatives are listed in the agenda, as are the employee units. Item C under the closed session is a conference with legal counsel, existing litigation. That's pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9 D1. The name of the case is GTE MobileNet of California Limited Partnership, DBA Verizon Wireless versus the City of Carmel-by-the-Sea. And the court is the United States District Court, Northern District, San Jose Division. Case numbers in the agenda. And the final closed session item is public employee performance evaluation. That's authorized by Government Code Section 54957. The title is City Administrator. And I did want to clarify one thing, Mayor, from earlier comments, is that we're not going to be talking about the wireless ordinance per se in the closed session. We'll be talking about this Verizon lawsuit. But I could add, with regards to the comments on the ordinance, we did come to the council and the Planning Commission as a joint meeting on February 28th, which was an extra step for transparency, if you will, to allow public input at that point. And then the council direction at that time was to send it to the Planning Commission for further proceedings. So there will be plenty of opportunity for public input, both what happened on February 28th and then what is going to be happening in the future with the Planning Commission. And I think the attorneys that have been hired to assist the city will be presenting at the Planning Commission. There'll be plenty of opportunity for public comment at that and input at that time. And that's all I have on this.
Thank you, Brian. I'll open it up now for public comment on these 4 items. Is there anybody in the public wishing to speak? Last call. All righty, I'll close the public comment period. We'll go into closed session. If there's anything substantive that happens in closed session, we'll report out tomorrow at tomorrow's meeting.
I don't expect there to be any reports out, but we'll find out tomorrow.
You never know. All right, so why don't we take 5 minutes while we clear the room, and then we'll reconvene in 5 minutes. Thank you.